I want to talk a little bit today about the vaccinations because that's all over the news. But before I want to get into it, I just want to do a little bit of background for folks. The way a vaccine works is it introduces a portion of whatever pathogen that they're trying to vaccinate you against into your body so that your immune system can recognize it. So in the case of the coronavirus, it's introducing a portion of the spike protein that we all hear about on the virus. And the spike protein is what makes it stick to the cell in your body so that it can be taken up into the cell, it can be replicated and produce more virus. So when they develop these vaccines, they take some sort of protein from a virus or some type of RNA material or some other material from a virus, introduce it to your body. Your body recognizes that it's a foreign matter and figures out how to attack it. And that way, when the real virus comes along, you're able to attack that virus and have some success in fighting it. Now, no vaccine is 100% accurate. They're advertising that these new vaccines are 95% accurate, whatever the amount is. So it basically means 5% of the people it doesn't work on. And the theory behind that is that if enough people are vaccinated, when the virus is trying to spread, it's not going to find enough people that aren't vaccinated in order to spread itself. It's going to keep running up against people that have had the vaccine and can't spread it, can't replicate it, can't spread it, and then it eventually dies off. Now, there's been some disturbing news that Dr. Wallach brought to my attention about the efficacy. We're hearing that 2 of the vaccines have a 95% efficacy, and then we're hearing another vaccine has in the 70% range, which is still excellent. If you get 70% of the population vaccinated, the virus is going to go away. So I don't have a problem with the efficacy numbers on there. But what Dr. Wallach discovered is that some of these folks have been stretching the truth a little bit on getting the 95% rating on their vaccines.
Welcome to the Prosperity RX podcast. This is Keith Abell with your prescription for prosperity. This is a podcast where I give you hope. I show you the path to build a life of health, wealth, and prosperity. To build a life that you don't need a vacation from. Folks, we've all messed up by believing some of the prevailing wellness and money myths in our culture. The turning point in your life, however, comes when you're willing to own up to it, to take your health and your finances into your own hands, to claw your way out of whatever's holding you back and never live in that lie again. Let me ask you, what good is your wealth if you have poor health? And what good is your health if you have no wealth? If you're willing to own up to it, to accept that you do have the power to change your circumstances, and that you're willing to do whatever it takes, then this podcast is for you. Humorist Josh Billings said, health is like money. We never have a true idea of its value until we lose it. You truly can change your life and start on the true path for good health, financial peace, and prosperity. So let's get on with the show.
All right, we're going to go ahead and start. Good morning, everybody. This is Pharmacist Keith. Welcome to the Health and Wellness Hour with Dr. Joe Wallach. As always, we talk about, answer the question, is your doctor killing you? First of all, I want to read a disclaimer. The food and dietary supplement products that we discuss on this program are intended to contribute to the daily diet and overall health and are not intended for use in the prevention, treatment, mitigation, or cure of any disease or health-related condition. Individuals who have or suspect they have an illness or who wish to commence a diet or exercise program should consult an appropriately licensed healthcare practitioner for a medical history evaluation, diagnosis, treatment, and health recommendations. And folks, there's no excuse anymore on finding healthcare practitioners that are more open to this. I'm seeing more and more physicians, nurse practitioners, physician assistants that have an open mind when it comes to nutrition and healing. So if your doctor is not open, then you need to shop around. You need to find a practitioner that does take a more holistic approach. Also, longevity prohibits its distributors from making any income earning claims in association with promotion of longevity business opportunities. Whether an individual becomes a longevity distributor will earn more than he or she pays for the business opportunity depends on multiple independent and dependent variables that are impossible to predict, such as economic factors unique to each location where product sales are attempted, and the sales talent of each individual distributor. And I mention that because we'll talk about that a little bit later, but economy and the shape that it's in, and all these executive orders that are being issued right now, a lot of people are losing their jobs, and we have an answer for you on how to create some extra income, and we'll get to that later on in the program. So I want to talk to Dr. Wallach now. Dr. Wallach is a biomedical researcher. He's considered the father of liquid colloidal minerals. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in agriculture from the University of Missouri, a major in animal husbandry and nutrition, and a minor in field crops and soils. He earned a doctorate in veterinary medicine and 3 postdoctorate fellowships. He spent more than 40 years in the field of veterinary medicine, observing and researching the effects of individual nutrients on animal health before he earned a doctorate in naturopathic medicine. As a pathologist, he's performed over 32,000 autopsies on various species of animals and humans in comparison. And that culmination of all that work is in a book that is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure called The Disease of Exotic Animals. If you're my age, you've probably seen Dr. Wallach or heard him before on the old Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom program. There he was involved with the Operation Rhino to save the white rhino from extinction. Marlon Perkins then invited Dr. Wallach to head up a research project with the National Institutes of Health, where they looked at animals in different zoos. The theory was that if there's a pollutant in a major city, that they can find an animal that's sensitive to that pollutant. And it's kind of like the canary in a coal mine when the old coal miners. So this project took, I think it was 13 years, was it, Doc?
Well, the original project was 10, but then I did 2 more years at Yerkes Primate Center.
So anyhow, what he did is every zoo, when they had an animal that died, he was flown to that zoo to do an autopsy on the animal and then do comparative autopsies for the humans in the area to see if there was some type of pollutant that was killing these animals, and if that could be the early warning sign that the major city had a problem. And what he discovered at the end of this research project and his research with the Yerkes primates was that every disease that was killing these animals, other than accidental death, every disease that was killing these animals could be traced back to a nutrient deficiency. And that's the thesis of that textbook. He's gone on now to get his word out to humans. Started it off with this cassette tape, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And I think most people, if they've been around any length of time, have probably seen that cassette tape. Somebody actually slipped that into my backpack when I was in pharmacy school. That tape is now in 9 languages, over 600 million copies of it. He's gone on to produce multiple books, CDs, DVDs, 15 books altogether. He's got 2 more getting ready to come out, and he'll tell you about those in a few minutes as well. The whole theme for Dr. Wallach and I is that your bodies are divinely designed to repair itself. If you cut your hand, you don't have to tell your body what to do to repair that cut. The body knows what to do. And if you got all the essential nutrients in your diet, if you get all the supplement with all the essential nutrients, your body's going to know what to do to repair itself from any type of disease. And that's what he discovered in that all that research that he did. I joined Dr. Wallach because I was finding in pharmacy that we just managed the disease. You know, we gave pharmaceuticals to make you feel better, but none of them were taking care of the disease unless it was an infection. And we're talking about antibiotics, which is a totally different group of medications. But for diabetes and high blood pressure and all that, I kept seeing my customers come in year after year getting worse and worse, and nothing was helping them. And that's when I first reached out to Dr. Wallach and learned about his protocols and started implementing them with the patients that I had in my pharmacy that were open to it. And I started seeing amazing things happen with these patients when it came to recovery from disease. I saw people stabilize their blood sugar. Saw people get their blood pressure back under control. And that's really what pushed me into this field. I want Dr. Wallach to just talk just a moment. I'm gonna circle back and we're gonna open up the discussion about vaccines. But Dr. Wallach, talk just a little bit about your theory there and what got you started on this whole process of human nutrition.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. The whole thing was about that 10 years of research that I did there Washington University at the Center for the Biology of Natural Systems and Barnes Hospital. It was 3,000 human autopsies and 17,000 some change of over 454 species of animals. And I learned that the type 2 diabetes wasn't genetic, it's a simple nutritional deficiency, and I could get rid of it. When people were on dialysis 6 times a week for 10 years because they hadn't peed, I could get them urinating in a couple of weeks by changing their diet and giving them a couple of supplements, because really it wasn't a kidney problem, it was some other issue. And same way with arthritis. I could regrow cartilage. From very famous athletes, Theo Ratliff. I've rebuilt Evander Holyfield's heart. He lost his championship to Michael Moorer because he had a heart attack, that round that he got sort of beat up. And then I rebuilt his heart. That was a Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. And he came back and beat Mike Tyson to get his championship back. Now, when you have a heart attack, you can't tell me most people just taking medication and changing their diet a little bit are going to come back and win a heavyweight championship with somebody like against Mike Tyson. But I had rebuilt him, so he was better than he was before he had his heart attack, and so forth. And we do this really every day. When you look at some very famous politicians, Andy Young, mayor of Atlanta, he had bone to bone arthritis in both knees. He was supposed to have a double knee replacement. And I talked him into giving me 90 days and rebuilt him. And he started introducing me to people, one of whom was Pastor Creflo Dollar from Atlanta, Georgia. He had a daughter who was supposed to be born with a genetic disease of black kids, and she was supposed to die before 12. And she was about 11 when Andy Young introduced me to him, and she was in the process of dying, and they said she wasn't going to live for 2 weeks, and I fixed her and rebuilt her. And of course, he has several beautiful grandchildren from her now. But because of that, he paid for a book to be published called Black Gene Lies, because he said to me, now, they said my daughter had this genetic disease of black kids. What about all the other genetic diseases of black folks? High blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, dementia, kidney failure, liver problems. He said, no, sir, they're not genetic. They're very simple nutritional deficiencies. He said, come on. So I went and lectured at his church. He made one of my first CDs at his, actually it was a cassette tape at that time, Black Gene Lies. And then of course he said, put it into a book, which is Black Gene Lies, which I just showed you. And every black kid in America and every black kid in the world needs to listen to that CD, Black Gene Lies, twice a week for the rest of their life. They'll add 25 to 50 healthy years to their life. Every black kid in America and the world needs to read that book once a month. They'll add 25 to 50 healthy years to their life. Because all the issues that black people have and Latinos have and Native Americans have who are hit the hardest with these pandemics and things like that are cultural issues, nutritional issues, and not genetic issues. Okay, I'll give you a hint. Dr. Milan and I went to China in 1988. We did 1,700 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 that died of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart disease, that sudden heart death that kills athletes, called Qishan disease there in Heilongjiang province, Qishan University, and found that 35% of them had cystic fibrosis, supposed to be a genetic disease of kids, of Europeans, and these are all Chinese. And remember, these are all dead kids. 100% had muscular dystrophy, and 200 of them had what would be called in America crib death or sudden death syndrome. And so got it published in 3 languages in 1990. The Biology of Trace Element Research was the English version, and got all kinds of awards, spoke at the United Nations, all, big hoo-ha. And we use that to be the base for suing to get nutrients put into baby formulas, because baby formulas only had 3 minerals in there, and you need 60. And doctors are saying, oh, just they're do fine, just let them eat, they'll get whatever they need if you can feed them well. And so to make a long story short, we won in federal court, and the federal judges ruled that Enfamil, Similac, and all the other baby formulas had to put these things in there. This was April 16, 2013. A year and a half later, September 13, 2014, big headlines in the Charlotte Observer, the big newspaper from Charlotte, North Carolina, kind of like the New York Times for New York. They said, we don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of North Carolina. 3 months later, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and all the newspapers in the state of Missouri said, we don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of Missouri. And 3 months later, every newspaper in the world came out and said, we don't know why, but sudden death syndrome diagnoses has dropped significantly by 85 to 95%. Well, that's because they forced them to put that nutrient. All of those diseases were caused by nutritional deficiency. Now, we had given Jerry Lewis in 2011, 2 years before that court ruling, about a dozen charts of kids in the Amish communities of Utah that we had actually reversed their muscular dystrophy in, because they have a very high rate of muscular dystrophy because of a genetic disease. Well, it turns out it's a disease of cattle, and so I was able to very quickly reverse that. We gave Jerry Lewis 12 charts. He went and talked to some of those families. He had his people talk to the doctors and so forth who were treating these kids. He said, we don't know why, but they don't have it anymore. And so he got excited. He took these charts and all the information to the Muscular Dystrophy Association in 2011. They fired Jerry Lewis before he walked out the door. And 2 years later, 2013, he dies. And then in 2015, the Muscular Dystrophy Association had to stop the telethon because they couldn't raise a penny without Jerry Lewis. And so, I could go on and on and on and on, but you get the drill.
Yeah, folks want to learn a little bit more about that. We did a video a few months ago, back in August, and it is posted on YouTube called Black Lives Do Matter. And I just put the link to that in the comments there so you guys can go take a look at it. I want to talk a little bit today about the vaccinations because that's all over the news. But before I want to get into it, I just want to do a little bit of background for folks. The way a vaccine works is it introduces a portion of whatever pathogen that they're trying to vaccinate you against into your body so that your immune system can recognize it. So in the case of the coronavirus, it's introducing a portion of the spike protein that we all hear about on the virus. And the spike protein is what makes it stick to the cell in your body so that it can be taken up into the cell, it can be replicated and produce more virus. So when they develop these vaccines, they take some sort of protein from a virus or some type of RNA material or some other material from a virus, introduce it to your body. Your body recognizes that it's a foreign matter and figures out how to attack it. And that way, when the real virus comes along, you're able to attack that virus and have some success in fighting it. Now, no vaccine is 100% accurate. They're advertising that these new vaccines are 95% accurate, whatever the amount is. So it basically means 5% of the people it doesn't work on. And the theory behind that is that if enough people are vaccinated, when the virus is trying to spread, it's not going to find enough people that aren't vaccinated in order to spread itself. It's going to keep running up against people that have had the vaccine and can't spread it, can't replicate it, can't spread it, and then it eventually dies off. Now, there's been some disturbing news that Dr. Wallach brought to my attention about the efficacy. We're hearing that 2 of the vaccines have a 95% efficacy, and then we're hearing another vaccine has in the 70% range, which is still excellent. If you get 70% of the population vaccinated, the virus is going to go away. So I don't have a problem with the efficacy numbers on there. But what Dr. Wallach discovered is that some of these folks have been stretching the truth a little bit on getting the 95% rating on their vaccines. Tell us about what you found out, Dr. Wallach.
Right. Well, the clue goes back to the beginning. I'm assuming you can hear me. Can
Yes,
you hear
I
me?
hear you.
Okay. The clue that there was an issue here was that in the beginning, when we first were diagnosing this pandemic virus, when 3-year-olds would get it, when 5-year-olds would get it, they'd get common cold-like symptoms for a couple of days. They might get an increase in body temperature from 98.6 to 99. You couldn't even classify that as a fever. After 3 to 5 days, they're perfectly normal. They had antibodies against it, and they're cool, ready to go, could defend themselves. But when a 35-year-old or a 50-year-old or a 75-year-old would get it, or an 85-year-old, boy, they were in trouble. Okay, and they'd have to go to the hospital, and there was this screaming, running around, trying to get ventilators for the hospitals for thousands of patients. And you remember that a year ago. And the ventilators were the big deal because you'd be on the ventilator for a month or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. And if you survive, many would die. If you survive, you might be permanently damaged. And so it was a big hoo-ha. And of course, there's a new thing that came out, which we'll talk about, MIS-C, after we're done with this piece. Have you heard of that one?
Yes.
Okay. And so basically, the big one was supposed to come out about 2 weeks ago. I mean, they were pumping it. I mean, this is supposed to be the vaccine of all vaccines. And it was from Merck, very famous pharmaceutical company in the United States and the world. And they pulled it just before it was supposed to go on the market. I mean, like minutes before it was supposed to go on the market. And they pulled it and said, we're pulling this vaccine. It's not going to be released because it has inadequate response. And I've been looking since then, and I want to know the age demographics and all the other stuff. There's nothing out there. They just said there's no response is all they would give. Well, then the next one that came out was Johnson & Johnson. And they said, well, we can have in the US, we have a 72% response. Worldwide, depending on whose data you look at, you can get anywhere from 60 to 66% worldwide. In Africa, you get 50 to 58%. And when you look at the age demographics, 100% of the people in the study were over age 65. They've been on gluten for 65 years. Their intestines are dead, which we'll get into in a minute. Then the next one that came out was Moderna, had a 94.1% efficacy. But it turns out they only had 25% of their people who got the vaccine were over age 65. And the newest one, Pfizer, just came out a couple of days ago. They have 95% effectiveness, but only 21.4% are over age 65. So they're fudging the demographics here. And that's why they have a higher rate of benefit as opposed to, and there's actually about 35, 36% of Americans over age 65. So they should have all used about 35, 40% of their people in the study to be 65 and over. Well, again, that 3-year-old thing in the beginning was a wonderful thing that we learned, and it gave the clue that there's something going on between a 3-year-old and a 63-year-old. Well, then just a week ago in Virginia, they came out with a big study, 1,600, almost the 1,700 that Dr. Milan and I did in Qishan, China. And this was from, I think, the University of Virginia. And what they found out was that this multiple inflammatory syndrome, C is for children. What they found was these kids are all dying of heart attacks and liver cirrhosis and all this kind of stuff. And they were all positive for the pandemic virus. So they're blaming all this on the pandemic virus. Well, we found that in those 1,700 kids in Qishan, China, it's all caused by deficiency of a single nutrient. Okay, now when you have that deficiency, is your immune system good or bad? It's going to be bad. And so did the virus kill them, or did they just die from that Qishan disease there in Virginia, and they had the viral antibodies and they're blaming it on the virus because it's the current thing? Now that remains to be seen. I'm working on that. And of course, then there's other new vaccines coming out. It'll be very interesting to see what their differences are and so forth. But it's all related to percentages of people in the different age groups. They should have had 25% under age 25, 25% between 25 and 50, 25% between 50 and 75, and 25% over age 75. And then that would be a reasonable comparison. Mm-hmm. But they fudged the data. And so you have to appreciate the people who put those studies together, because that didn't happen accidentally. Okay, that was purposely done that way to increase the efficacy numbers, because the younger people do better. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to point this out again, because I've ran into this multiple times in my years in pharmacy. Basically, what the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine people did is they know they're going to have a higher efficacy rate if they give the vaccine to younger people, because younger people's immune system already is going to be working harder. The people with the, what's the other vaccine, Dr. Wallach?
Well, I see there's Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson. Mm-hmm. They put in their study group the elderly people. So you're going to have less efficacy, because the elderly people, their immune system isn't up to snuff. That's why they have a higher percentage of the side effects from it. And again, a vaccine works by introducing a part of a pathogen to your immune system so your immune system can then recognize it. So they're going to have a lower efficacy rate just simply because elderly people have a weaker immune system. I want to go back to, the very first time I found this type of data was when I had somebody come to me 20 years ago and ask me about omega-3 fatty acids. And they had said that they had saw somewhere in a news release that it reduces cholesterol. And they wanted to know, how much you should take, because of course the news release didn't say it. And none of my pharmacy books had any information on that whatsoever. So I told them I'd do some research to find out. And what I did is I started pulling articles, research articles. Pulled several dozen research articles that showed that omega-3 fatty acids had all kinds of benefits, not just reduction of cholesterol, but all kinds of benefits. And then I found one article that said that omega-3 did nothing and that you need to get your patients on the statin drug. So in pharmacy school, we were taught by one of my professors that anytime you saw a body of research that says one thing and then a lone research over here that says something different, you got to ask yourself 3 questions. Who funded the research? What do they stand to gain or lose from the research? And what did they do to get their results? So I looked at all the data over here, and all the data over here was just various different companies in nutrition and different fields like that. And the common denominator in all these is they gave everybody 6,000 to 9,000 milligrams of omega-3. And I look over here at the one that had the opposite results, and it was funded by a big pharma company. And this particular company, their primary money-making drug was a statin drug. So right off the bat, we know what they want the results to be. They want it to show that omega-3s didn't do anything to help cholesterol levels. So then the last question to ask is, what did they do different from all these people over here? On the drug company side, they gave everybody 1,000 milligrams of omega-3, knowing ahead of time, because all the other research shows it takes 6,000 to 9,000 milligrams to work. They gave everybody in their study 1,000 milligrams. They got that research out to all their drug reps, sent it out to all the doctors, telling all the doctors to tell people not to take omega-3s. It doesn't work. You got to take your statin drug. And that's what turned me on to this whole thing of nutrition and its role in fighting disease. And I know, Dr. Wallach, we'll get to the cholesterol thing later. I know that both of us disagree that cholesterol is the problem. It's not the problem to start with, but that's how I discovered that the drug companies lie to us. And then from then on, every time I've ever seen any kind of news report come out that says some nutraceutical, what I mean by nutraceutical is some vitamin, mineral, amino acid doesn't do anything, I've always gone and pulled that study and found out that they either gave a dose that was too low or some dosage form of it that your body couldn't absorb, so it couldn't use it in the first place. Back to the vaccines, Dr. Wallach.
Okay, well, there's 4 pieces that your body needs for the immune system to work. Now, you've already explained extremely well how the vaccines work, and introduces this DNA, RNA, or proteins from a virus, a bacteria, fungus, or yeast. Your immune system recognizes it. When the bug shows up, they attack it. That's the whole principle of vaccination. But you also need, for that vaccination to work, a response from the immune system to the original injection. Vaccines do not directly kill viruses, bacteria, fungus, or yeast. Okay.
It takes your immune system to kill it.
Yeah. And so what is your immune system? Well, first thing is absorption. You have to be able to absorb. And so your intestines have these villi, these little finger-like things. And when a baby's born, the inside of their intestines look like a shag rug. I mean, there's a lot of absorptive surface because of those villi. But as they get older, those villi shrink and disappear. When you're in your late 30s, mid 40s, now you have a smooth plastic tube in there and not the shag rug thing. So you've lost about 98% of the absorptive surface by the time you're in, like 35 to 45, somewhere in there, depending on your diet. Okay. The second thing that has to happen, you have to take in all the nutrients necessary for the immune system to be able to work. And so prior to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street in New York City, in the bluff overlooking the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, when Thomas Edison and Jonathan Leaves pulled the switch in the first commercial electric generating plant on Pearl Street, okay, in New York City, everybody in the world, whether you're an emperor or a peasant farmer or somebody who just migrates around and, you know, eats off the land, everybody was using wood for fuel. And they would use the wood ashes in their garden as fertilizer, and they would put wood ashes in their food, okay, as kind of a supplement of some kind. They didn't know all the chemistry of it, but they knew if you put the wood ash in your food, you did better. Well, once they turned on the electricity, everybody gave up the wood ashes, and people began to gain weight, and that's because they're minerally deficient. And when you're minerally deficient, you develop a behavior called pica, P-I-C-A. You can look it up in any dictionary, P-I-C-A, pica. And you have this insatiable craving. You want to eat on everything. And that's why babies, they began to chew on the rails on their cribs when they got these Enfamil and Similac, because they only had 3 nutrients in there. They only had 3 nutrients in the original baby formulas. And so they called it cribbing. And that's why they put that fiberglass sheath on the cribs so the babies wouldn't eat through the cribs. Same way when horses chew on the top rail of their stall in the barn, they call it cribbing, because they're doing what the babies used to do when they got their Enfamil and Similac. And people began to gain weight because they're eating. And so finally, about 1890 to 1900, you know, a couple of years before the Spanish flu in 1918, people in America were overweight. They're obese. Now, before that, the only way you ever saw a fat person in America was to go to a circus, okay, and see the fat lady. And you'd pay $2 to see the fat lady. And because everybody was skinny up until then. Well, they say, okay, look, you're eating too much fat. That's why you're gaining weight. No animal fat, no animal fat, no animal fat. Go over to whole grains. Now, you've heard that, I'm sure. You've read that, I'm sure. Now, people did that. They started eating gluten, which they hadn't done completely. So before that, they're eating corn, they're eating rice, they're eating beans, they're eating squash, they're eating all kinds of stuff, vegetables of all kinds, acorns, you name it. Well, here now, they start eating more whole grains. So they go for wheat and barley, rye, and oats, oatmeal for breakfast, breakfast of champions, Wheaties, and so forth. And they're getting a spaghetti factory and Taco Bell and all the flour tortillas. And they're gaining weight. Well, that's because they're minerally deficient. And so they started eating more and more of these grains. Their villi go away now. And we had the Spanish flu. 657,000 people died of the Spanish flu in America alone. The worst month we had was October of 1918. 195,000 people died in America from the Spanish flu. And then in 2003 and 2005, in between those years, 2003, 2004, 2005, we had SARS, MERS, COVID-2, and the H1N1. It was a big, terrible thing. And now we have this pandemic virus now. Well, guess what? If everybody continues to eat wheat, barley, rye, and oats, and not supplement, because if they're eating well, they can get everything they need, they are going to have a pandemic that's going to make this one look like a common cold. It's coming. It's already building up with all these variants. They're already talking about that. And it'll take a couple of years. It might take 6 months. It might take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, but it's coming. And so everybody needs to get off the gluten, live like an Asian. And I have all these statistics where I'm comparing like populations are just different cultures and not race. It's not a race thing. It's different cultures. Mm-hmm. And when you have different cultures, they eat differently. And may I give a couple or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, well, let me give a couple.
We got some Q&A after that.
Okay, let me give 2 or 3 pairs. Let's look at, okay, let's see here. Oh, let's look at Texas and, let's see here. Let's look at Texas and Vietnam. Now, Texas has 29 million people in it, and Vietnam has 96 million. So Vietnam has 3 times the population that Texas has. Vietnam, according to WHO, World Health Organization, has 35 dead from the pandemic virus here, 35, not 35,000, 35 dead, and 1,800 infections. Texas, also with this same, 1/3 the population of Vietnam, has 36,000 dead and 2.3 million infections. What's the difference? Well, Texas is 40 to 50% Latino, Black, and Native Americans who live on wheat, barley, rye, and oats. They can't absorb anything. They don't
Typical
supplement.
American diet.
Typical American diet. They don't supplement, and they don't have any wood ashes to put in their garden or eat. And so that's why they're having that problem. And so when you look at another one, let's look at the Ojibwe Indians in northern Minnesota in the Great Lakes area. They have 360,000 people in their main reservation. We're going to compare them with the Arizona Navajos, who have about the same population, 340,000. And the Ojibwe Indians in Minnesota have been eating the same way since 1600. In the year 1600, they migrated from Florida because they're tired of hurricanes and stuff on the East Coast. They were migrating. They landed in the upper portion of Minnesota where there's rice, wild rice, and they've been eating wild rice for 400 years. They never began to eat wheat or barley, rye, or oats compared to the Navajos, okay, in Arizona have 838 dead versus 0 dead in the Ojibways, Minnesota, have 838 dead, 25,000 infections compared to 27, not 27,000, just 27. And in 1860, the Scottish gave the Navajo Indians wheat. They began to eat a deep fried flatbread called bannock. And of course, the Ojibwe Indians eat nothing but rice, and they call it menumen. Okay, there's no gluten in rice. They've been eating this rice forever. Well, in 1860, when the Scottish came along, the Navajo Indians switched from the three sisters, they called it, which was maize, corn, beans, and squash, and vegetables and things like that, and acorns and so on. And they switched immediately over to wheat. And that became their downfall. And that's why the Native Americans get hit so hard. And that's why the Ojibways, well, have no deaths and only 27 infections. They have the same population versus 838 dead and 25,000 infections. Okay, and it's because of just diet. And I could go on. I have all these comparisons between Mexico and Japan and Nigeria and Brazil and the UK and Thailand and so forth. The numbers are just so dramatically different between the rice-eating people and the people who eat wheat. It's just that simple. Because wheat, barley, rye, and oats, your villi go away. If you eat rice, your average lifespan is going to be 100. You eat wheat, your average lifespan is going to be below 70.
Yeah, and they switched to wheat simply because it was easier to grow.
Yeah, and
corn is more has to have better conditions, where wheat is a type of grass, so it can grow much easier in more locations than corn can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, rice is a grass also. It's just an aquatic grass. Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. I'm going to get to some questions and answers now. Before I do that, Dr. Wallach can stress it, and I can't stress it enough. Folks, we got to take our health into our own hands. Nobody's going to do it for us. Big pharma is definitely not looking out for your best health. The medical industrial complex is not looking out for your best health. They're looking out for the dollar. And that's simply put, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the way it is. You can just look at it now with all these doctors having to leave their practices because the income stream is cut, because all that matters anymore is the mighty dollar, and the insurance companies, the medical companies, the medical schools, the pharmaceutical companies, they're controlling it all. And they're controlling what doctors can say. And so many doctors are seeing the light that they're not able to spend the time with their patients anymore to find out what really is the problem. They have these protocol sheets that they check off the boxes. If they check off all these boxes, then they have to prescribe that drug. There's no art anymore in the field of healing. And we have to take responsibility ourselves. And the only way to be sure that we're able to fight any of these infections that come along, any of these diseases that come along, arthritis and diabetes and all those, is we've got to make sure we're getting all 90 essential nutrients that our body needs so it can repair itself. We can't rely on the food companies anymore. It's not in the food. First of all, it's not in the food because of farming practices. And secondly, it's not in the food because it's all so highly processed. And almost anything you buy in the grocery store that's been processed in one way or another has got wheat, barley, rye, or oats in it as thickeners and extra.
Let me throw something in there. When you look at all the commercial fertilizers, they only contain 3 nutrients because plants only need 3 nutrients. Okay, we need 90. Now,
right.
Farmers don't get paid by the nutritional value of the food. They get paid by tons and bushels.
Right.
And so they buy this cheap fertilizer with these 3 nutrients in it. They give it to their crops. Boy, they have a bumper crop. They make lots of money. But we don't have health insurance for animals. How do we get away with that? We give them vitamins and minerals. We give them supplements.
Absolutely.
We give them supplements to the animals because it's not in their food any more than it's in your food. And so that's how I.
And we've known this since the 1930s.
Yes.
In fact, if you go to givedoc90days.com, there is a Senate report on there that you can download. Givedoc90days.com. And that Senate report showed even back in the 1930s, they recognized that the vegetables that were grown on the farms today at that time weren't as nutritious as the vegetables in the past. And since that time, researchers have looked every 10 years at the nutrition quantity in the fruits and vegetables, and it continues to go down year after year after year.
Well, here's why. You hit a nail on the head there. Certainly, they're not putting wood ashes on the fields anymore, right?
Right.
But also, we have 1 million hydroelectric dams. Okay. Now those hydroelectric dams are the cause of the carbon dioxide going up in our atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is not going up because of fossil fuels and gasoline and stuff like that. No. So they're building all these hydroelectric plants, the clean sources of electricity and so forth. But what kills us literally is that what was the most expensive and the form of farmland that nobody would give up. They would fight you and die before they would sell this. They would will it to their family.
Yeah, it's that bottom land, the land that flooded every so many years.
Well, it would flood every year, and the flood waters would bring silt from the mountains, where it erode the mountains and bring down the minerals from the volcanoes and everything, and renew the minerals every year during the floods. That's like bottom land, okay, and flood plains. That's where those are part of the blue zones, okay. They weren't just because they were very prayerful people, which is not a bad thing, be a prayerful group of people, but they also lived in places where they still used wood and putting the wood ashes in their gardens, and they're avoiding all the bad stuff and so forth. And so the bottom land, okay, and the floodplains was one of the secrets of long life of these blue zones. And Dan Buettner didn't go into those details. He just said, well, here's these 5 countries or 5 communities in these countries that live a long time. There's a cover article in National Geographic, I believe it was 2005, maybe November 2005, something like that, or June 2005. And he rightfully picked out these 5 countries that live a long time, but he didn't stand back and look and compare similar populations, because there's really, in the 200 nations there's probably 75 different blue zones. So we can't call them blue zones because that's a political group, okay? So we can't call them red zones because that's a political group. So I'm going to call them the Wallach zones, okay? The ones that do well, and the ones that don't do well, we're going to call them the Diablo zones.
Dr. Wallach, kill me. All right, let's get to some questions and answers real quick here.
Okay.
We've got a 29-year-old female with PCOS. I'm assuming that's polycystic ovary syndrome, 5'2", 300 pounds.
Okay, 5'2", 300 pounds. She's 200 pounds overweight. So I guarantee you she has gluten problems, and that's why she's not absorbing nutrients, and that's why she has polycystic ovarian syndrome kind of thing, because can't make enough estrogen stuff because it requires nutrients. So she needs to get on 2 or 3 meals a day, one of her keto caramel meals. Okay, it could be the bar or the shake, either way. It doesn't have to be the same meals every day. I want her to start out with her big heavy hammer because she's in big trouble. She has these pre-existing conditions, which are going to put her up. If she gets the pandemic virus, she's in big trouble. She'll lose a half a pound to 2 pounds a day if she takes 2 or 3 meals a day, this keto caramel meal, either a shake or a bar. And then I want her to have 3 healthy brain and heart packs per month. 3, there you go. 3 healthy brain and heart packs per month, the full dose of everything 3 times a day. Then I also want her to have, she's going to get some wrinkles, so I want her to take some MSM. I guarantee she's got back problems and arthritis and osteoporosis and all that other stuff. So I want her to get her MSM, get 2 bottles of her MSM per month, so you can take 3 of those 3 times a day. I want her to get 3 bottles a month of our Fucoid Z, which is our seaweed. I want her to take 3 of those 3 times a day. I want her to take 3 of our Ocean's Gold 3 times a day. Are you still there? Yeah, okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, our Ocean's Gold, take 3 of those 3 times a day. And that'll be 3 bottles a month, all these minerals and everything from the seaweed and so forth. And then I would also like her to take 3 of our Zerafem tablets 3 times a day. That'll be 3 bottles a month. That's the raw materials that your ovaries need to make estrogen and progesterone. She also needs 3 eggs 3 times a day. Soft yolks, hard-boiled eggs won't count because estrogen and progesterone and testosterone are 95% by weight cholesterol. These issues didn't come up until statin drugs came up, as did Alzheimer's disease, because Alzheimer's disease, there's all kinds of dementias go back to Bible days, but Alzheimer's disease is a very specific change in the brain and is caused by statin drugs, okay? Not genetics or anything like that or age. And you've got to eat those 3 eggs because your brain is 75% by weight. Oh, cholesterol. And everything comes right.
And there's a recent study that came out that I don't have it in front of me that showed that people that did get their cholesterol down using whatever means necessary, and they compared those to people that did not, and there was not any difference in the cardiovascular issues. So they've proven once again it has nothing to do with cholesterol, even though that's what they keep pushing to us. I mean, even after this latest study, they still insist on everybody being on statin drugs, and they keep trying to find more and more reasons to be on it. But the research isn't backing up what they're saying.
Yeah, well, they've got a product and they want to keep their market, and so they're prepared to just do like if you're going to have a vaccine that really works against the people that are in trouble, you test everybody who's 65 years of age and older. Well, it turned out bad because those are the ones who couldn't respond to the vaccination.
Okay, I have says wife is 5'5", 190 pounds, has had gastric bypass, and now has absorption issues. Of course, she has absorption issues because it's half the intestines probably bypassed there. Anyway, wants to know what to do to improve the absorption issue.
How much does she weigh?
190 pounds, 5'5", gastric bypass.
Okay, well, 5'5", I'd like to see her weigh 130, 140, so she needs to lose 50, 60 pounds. Okay, and so I'd have her get rid of all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, butter, oats, no sugar. I would have her take 2 of the Healthy Brain and Heart Packs per month, 2 of the Healthy Brain and Heart Packs per month, full dose everything twice a day. I want her to have 2 of her 3 meals, the keto caramel meals, shake or the bar, doesn't have to be the same meals every day. And then I want her to take our ultimate enzyme. She could take 2 or 3 of those, say 5 to 10 minutes for each meal with a couple ounces of water. And the problems are going to go away, okay? Because skin issues, gut issues are all due to gluten, okay? And these are the people who are in trouble when it comes to, and that's why when you look at the book Hell's Kitchen, the subtitle is The Cause, Prevention, and Cure of Obesity, Diabetes, and the Metabolic Syndrome, which is heart disease and high blood pressure and all that kind of stuff, because those are all nutritional deficiencies. So is being overweight. Okay, when you have all those problems, you can't defend yourself because your bone marrow's dead. That's the problem.
She probably would benefit as well from just the minerals, the cherry mints or something like that throughout the day.
Well, yeah, I mean, she could drink the cherry mints throughout the day, or Rebound, which is a sports drink with 100 nutrients in it. No soft drinks, none of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And but yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, if you get on a keto diet, which is a high fat, low carb diet, and you get all your minerals in there through Rebound or Cherry Mints or just the plain minerals, that's going to solve a lot of the craving problems because you're either crave fat or you're either craving minerals when you're craving. You know, when you want that ice cream or whatever, you want that ice cream, you're probably craving the fat. You want the salty chips, you're craving the minerals. So if you get a diet that's a keto diet and put minerals in all your drinks throughout the day, it's going to go a long way to getting the weight down.
Absolutely.
Lady, it's 28 years old, 125 pounds, 5'3". Weight looks good then. She had cancer at 17 and they amputated a leg. Now she has cysts on her ovaries. Her cell numbers show up high. What can she take? I'm not sure what cell numbers are talking about, but
Yeah, so it could be white blood cells, it could be cancer cells, or who knows. But anyway, you should say she weighs 130 pounds.
125 pounds, 5'3",
Okay.
and has had a history of cancer at 17.
Okay. So I'm assuming it either went to the bone or maybe it was bone cancer or who knows, or maybe they just got the diagnoses wrong and the doctor needed tuition money for his kid in college, who knows.
All right.
Okay. And so at 135 pounds, I'd have her get rid of all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, butter, and oats. I'd also have her take one Healthy Brain and Heart pack and get another bottle of our selenium, not a bottle of selenium from Walgreens. Our selenium has 5 cofactors in there, which this individual needs. And so there's one bottle of the selenium with the 5 cofactors in that pack. Get another bottle so you can take 3 of those twice a day. I want her to support her immune system with a Fucoid Z, 3 of those twice a day. Our Ocean's Gold, take 3 of those twice a day. Also, the Z Radical, take 3 of those twice a day. Okay, all these things will support the immune system, which is very important here. And also the MSM, which is going to help repair connective tissue in the bones and the skin, the walls of the intestine and so forth. But a gluten-free diet is paramount here, so she can absorb the nutrients so her immune system can help defend her.
Let's talk about Fucoid Z a minute.
Okay.
That's made from what?
Okay, Fucoid Z, I think, has about 18 different seaweeds and algae and things like that in it from the ocean. And they're a source of weird trace minerals. And this is why the blue zones, all of those people ate seaweed. They're getting these weird trace minerals. And of course, Dan Buettner didn't go into those details because he spent a lot of time on the spiritual aspect of these people, but their location, and their culture, they all lived around the coast, or they all lived up in a mountain range that was volcanic, and they have all this deep lava minerals, okay, are seaweed. Okay, I think 4 of the 5 were either islands, like Okinawa, Nicoya, let's see here. Well, Loma Linda in California, they live close to the ocean. And then Icaria in the Aegean Sea, Sardinia in Italy, all those places that are in the blue zones. These people all ate seaweed until they started being given wheat. And so even Loma Linda, they're not letting their dad out. How many people that are sick and how many have died from the pandemic virus. I found little bits and pieces, and I'm not quite sure it's quite accurate because it came from like August of 2020. Okay. And so is it accurate? Probably not. It may be double that now, but that's the only numbers I have because they stopped putting out numbers because their faith says that if you pray and you eat this way, you won't get sick. And if they're all dying, like California has a horrible number. Okay, California is really in bad shape. California has 40 million people and have 40,000 dead and 3.2 million infections in California with 40 million. And then you look at something like oh, let's look at somebody who's close to them. Okay, let's look at let's look at Thailand. Let's look at Thailand with 67 million people, has 77 dead. What? And California has 40 million people and has 40,000 dead. Taiwan has 67 million and has only 77 dead and only 18,000 infections. And California has 3.2 million infections. So what's the difference? Well, Thailand lives on corn and rice and seaweed and all that kind of stuff. That's Thailand. And California is 40 to 50% like Texas, Latinos, Native American populations, and Black. And so they all eat wheat, barley, rye, and oats. And that's why there's that huge difference, even though the populations are approximately the same.
And another thing to think about, California, so many people there want to, they try to live a healthy diet, which of course still has all the grains in it. And they go for all the organic stuff and all that, yet they're still having a problem. So it's not the food, it's the diet itself. It's the grains in the diet.
It's the gluten causing the damage to the intestines.
Right.
And then these people tend not to supplement because I'm eating well. My doctor says I can get everything I need just by eating well.
And I'm eating organic, so I'm getting everything I need.
We'll see. Well, organic just means no pesticides. It doesn't mean more nutrition, but they interpret
People don't understand that. They don't understand that. They think organic means it's good, so it must be good for me. It's just, it doesn't have the pesticides. So it might be good in that way. But then again, just because it's organic doesn't mean it's not.
Another one is a GMO. This is all caused by GMO. What is GMO? Genetically modified. Well, why did that come along? Because people didn't like all the pesticides and the herbicides and chemicals. So, we're going to get rid of those, and we'll build grain that doesn't get sick from all these bugs.
Right. And why does that happen? Because they built into the genetic code of the grain the very pesticides that the people don't want. So you're still getting the pesticides. All right, back up 1 second to fucoidan. Dr. Wallach talked about fucoidan. It's spelled F as in Frank, UCOIDAN. And I encourage you to go to pubmed.gov. There's over 2,100 articles on PubMed.com on that particular ingredient, fucoidan. As I said at the very beginning of this, we don't make any medical claims. I'm not claiming that it's going to fight cancer or cure cancer or anything like that. Yes,
Fucoid Z, here it is.
That's the capsule version, and it also comes in a liquid version. But if you know anyone that's fighting cancer, I encourage you to go to pubmed.gov, look at fucoidan, and then make your own decisions there.
Fucoid Z and Z radical.
Fucoid Z and Z radical, because me personally, I'm not going to rely that it's going to cure cancer, but if I know somebody that's got cancer, I'm going to make sure they're taking that just to give them a better chance. So my 2 cents on that.
Well, that's very good, because let's say, the doctor says, you've got, less than 3 months to live, based on our experience, and we get them to live another 10 years, by doing all this dietary change and this, that, and the other. And if they do everything right, they might live another 25 years, but certainly they will live longer if they eliminate the bad stuff, eliminate the gluten, take these things that support the immune system, and it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, and you've got a book coming out. I want to go over that real quick with Linda Tyler. Talk about that book.
Okay, it's called The Greatest Stories Ever Told. Not the greatest story ever told, of course, is the Bible. Well, these are the greatest stories ever told, and the subtitle kind of gives away the content of the book. It's millions, plural, millions of healing miracles, because I've been doing this for over 50 years. And I mean, how many people have you interacted with, you think? Okay. I see 2 million people a day.
Thousands, I know I've interacted with.
Yeah, I see more than 2 million people a day based on, people like yourself and all your group. And so every one of them sees all these people and they introduce it. And so if we can get rid of arthritis in one by giving them the nutrients and getting rid of the bad foods so they can absorb the nutrients, their body heals itself, they pass it on. And so they'll be, from that one person, there'll be 500,000 people over 50 years to do the same thing. Okay, and so this, it's an amazing thing. And so this is going to be a supplement to the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran, and all the faith and religious books from India and China and so forth. And so we don't have to rewrite a whole book. So these are, you follow the Bible, okay, whichever one you're following, okay, your holy book, and you add this to it. I mean, when the Ten Commandments was found by Moses, did he write a whole new book? No, it was sort of a supplement to the Bible. And so that's when we say, okay, we're going to do the same thing that Moses did with the Ten Commandments. We're going to take this information and make it a supplement to the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Quran, and the holy books from India and China.
Yeah, I was just looking because you asked about the number of people impacted. I know I've spoke to thousands, and just looking at my what we call genealogy, I've got 700 customers in my genealogy that at one point or another were touched by Dr. Wallach's products. So that gets me to the next part of this discussion before we sign off. Let's make sure I don't. Tresca Bryant Lee asks, what's the name of the product again? It's Fucoid Z, and
Fucoid Z is a capsule. The liquid is Z Radical.
Z Radical.
And
Fucoid
kids
Z
love
and
it.
Z Radical.
It tastes good.
Yeah, I've had the liquid, and it tastes very good. Does it come in a powder form too?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's possible because we got 5,000 products, but I only know.
I know, that's why I can't remember either.
I only know the capsules and the liquid. I take the capsules with me on the airplane because they're very light. I can't take quarts with me on the airplane because they're too heavy. So, you know, I'll spend a lot of time with the liquids here at home, but when I go distances where I'm going to be on an airplane, I take my capsules.
Yeah,
It
and
does come in the powder form. I think it's in a canister.
it does come in a canister.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I was thinking it did too. Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know who
yeah.
that was, but thank you.
This is Christine Robinson. I had a question in the chat also for Doc.
Well, go ahead and ask it since you're on there.
Okay. Have a 100-pound female, previously had hyperthyroidism. The thyroid is now balanced, but one eye still has like an eyelid that is swollen and slightly protruded, and the doctor says the swollen is swollen from the extra fatty tissue behind the eye. So is there any way to get the swelling?
Yes. How old is this? How old is this person?
67.
Okay. Did they ever complain about ringing in the ears or balance issues?
No, not that. No.
Do they have any heart issues?
No, sir.
Okay. What about gray hair and varicose veins?
Varicose vein.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this person weighs how much?
100 pounds.
100 pounds. Okay. None of the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, bran, rye, oats, no sugar. I want her to have one healthy brain and heart pack per month. Get another bottle of our selenium, so you can take 3 of those twice a day. Not Walgreens selenium, our selenium, because specifically the nutrient that's missing, it causes the gray hair and varicose veins and that kind of stuff. And also, I want her to take the Fucoid Z, take 3 of those twice a day. Take our Ocean's Gold 3 twice a day. And she needs the MSM. I want her to take 3 of those twice a day, be 1 bottle a month. The reason why she needs the MSM is because she has osteoporosis of the skull. She has ONA, optic nerve atrophy, because the skull is squeezing that optic nerve, and that's why the eyelid and everything is, and the doctor can't find any macular degeneration. He can't find any cataracts and can't find any glaucoma or pressure in the eye. So he's blaming it on fat behind the eye because he's ignorant. That's why we have this new book as part of our quartet of books. Okay. It's called It's All in Your Head, goes into the 25 different diseases you get from osteoporosis of the skull. Think about it. How many of you have ever had your doctor talk to you about osteoporosis of the skull and the 25 different diseases you get from it? Well, this was added a year ago to the trilogy of books, Let's Play Doctor, Let's Play Herbal Doctor, Passport to Therapy. Now it's a quartet of books because we've added It's All in Your Head. Goes into the 25 different diseases you get when you have osteoporosis of the skull. And you can be born with osteoporosis of the skull, and you get what used to be called Erb's palsy. Now it's called Wallach's palsy. And you get, your skull gets thick. It used to be called Paget's disease. Now it's called Wallach's disease. Okay. And these things all go away. I had wagers with eye doctors who brought me 27 people who were legally blind, okay, for 6, 8, 10, 12 years, legally blind for 6, 8, 10, 12 years. And in 90 days, they could all read 20/20 on my program. The doctor lost the wager, had to pay off an expensive bottle of red wine from France, a steak dinner at Ruth Chris's Steakhouse, had to pay for all the supplements for these 27 people who he had diagnosed as being blind because of macular degeneration. And then he had to stand on the street corner every day for an hour and yell at people at the intersection when they would stop. I am a liar. Dr. Wallach told the truth.
Yeah, I've heard that audio is no longer available in your store. Is that correct?
That audio is no longer available because the guy
if
who
you
actually
if you go to YouTube, you can find it there.
Yeah. There was a bad boy who actually recorded my lecture, and we were selling it. It was a very, very good quality thing, but he thought he could go by himself, and he tried to steal the information and this, that, and the other, and so we don't talk about that anymore because we don't want to give him any help.
Right. I don't know if you got much more time, Dr. Wallach. I'm not sure what your schedule is, but I've got another question.
I got time for one more.
All right. This person says, what will help reduce cataracts when one has osteoporosis of the skull?
Okay, well, cataracts can be caused by inflammation, okay, eating fried foods and oils and that kind of stuff. And so they need to get rid of all the bad stuff. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat, bran, rye, oats, no sugar. And then they need one healthy brain and heart pack per 100 pounds of body weight. They need the MSM, 3 MSM twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. They need the Occutive, one of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. They need the Vision FX, 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. And then they need the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, 3 of those twice a day in case there's some glaucoma or pressure in the eye along with that. Okay. And let's see if it's really a cataract problem. Now, if it's a cataract problem, really a cataract in the eyeball, you can see, you look at somebody and you see a mothball in their eye. You don't even need to use, something to look in their eye. You can just see the mothball in their eye from 50 feet away. They truly have a cataract. I would take the worst eye and do one eye at a time and see how that goes and recover from that. And if everything's good there, then do the other eye. Okay. But try the nutrition first, because a lot of times you really don't have a cataract, but the doctor says that because he doesn't know anything about osteoporosis of the skull, and he's got to blame it on something.
Right. In all these things, that Dr. White talks about too, that we don't touch on much anymore, is you've got to get the inflammation out of the body. Part of the biggest and best way to get the inflammation out of the body is go with a keto type diet, but also you want to increase your antioxidant, the ORAC score. And Dr. Wallach, there's plenty of products that we have available that will increase that ORAC score.
Yeah.
What's your favorite ones?
Oh gosh, our selenium. Okay, our selenium. Right. Okay, also our Cell Shield RTQ, Z-radical,
resveratrol, turmeric, and
and quercetin.
Quercetin.
Yeah. And then of course we have Cell Shield RTQ. Okay. Yeah, I said that. Okay, we need the Fucoid Z. We need the Z-radical. We need the Ocean's Gold. All these things.
All those high antioxidant scores.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's and of course any of the things like our vitamin C and zinc and stuff like that all supports the immune system.
All right, Dr. Wallach, I appreciate that. I know you've got to jump off
I've
here.
got to go. My calls are lining up here. I do have to go.
Yep. So I will talk to you next week.
Okay. God bless.
Folks, the Longevity does have a corporate call that's starting now on the Facebook page. It's the February call. So folks, I encourage you to jump on there. Just a couple more things I want to talk about before we go is we have a website where you can get a couple free gifts. You go to dddlvideo.com. That stands for Dead Doctors Don't Lie. It's dddlvideo.com, and you can get a report on why so many young athletes die from Dr. Wallach. And also, you can watch the video, Someone Should Go to Jail. And this is something you can share with other people. And I'll also mention at the beginning that, so many people now are losing their jobs. And we already discovered when the pandemic hit just how vulnerable we were. I mean, waiters and waitresses never thought in a million years that they would be losing jobs, and yet they did. So we need to be prepared. Robert Kiyosaki talks about how you need to have multiple streams of income. So if one stream of income goes away, you still have more income coming in. And that's why I encourage you to take a look at becoming a part of Dr. Wallach's army. What we do, network marketing is a type of way of getting products out to the public. It's a word of mouth means of getting the people out, products out to the public. And I myself joined 14 different, I investigated over 30 different network marketing companies after I read the book from Robert Kiyosaki. And I looked at 30 different companies, and over time I joined about 14 different ones. And they all had good products. As a pharmacist, I was looking for companies that had a product that is consumable, so people buy it over and over again. And I was looking at products that have a benefit health-wise. And I failed in 13 of those companies, partly because they were single product companies. How many times are you going to buy a bottle of juice before you get tired of the bottle of juice? And partly it was because, being a single product company, I wasn't real enthused about what was available. And then finally, Dr. Wallach himself invited me to join Longevity. And he had a unique way of doing network marketing. Yes, he has his 90 for life message. That's his core message as a naturopathic doctor. That's been his life work to get people healthier by making sure they take all 90 of their essential nutrients. But what I liked about Longevity, not only all the nutrients, all the products they have for health-wise, but what I liked was there was products in 9 of the top selling categories out there. Like you said, there's over 5,000 products in the catalog from Longevity. And the message and why this worked so well for me is because I got the message out there that you just switch where you shop. You find products that you would use every day, and you buy those products to help you qualify for your business every month. And you teach other people to do the same thing, just word of mouth. We've got people that solely base their business on coffee. We have people that solely base their business on, memory keeping and that type thing. We've got folks that base their business on spa products, nails, fingernails pop products. And we have the majority of the people solely base their business on Dr. Wallach's nutritional message. And that's what I like about this company and joining this company to create that extra income, because not only am I getting good quality products that I use every day beyond just the health products, but I also have a means for other people to do the same. Here in Kentucky, I have a very difficult time getting people to acknowledge the health issues and to spend the money on the health issues, or at least in my part of Kentucky. So I not only have a way of introducing that to folks, but have a way of showing them, you can make some money without having to, teach all your friends all about nutrition. You can make some money by showing people how they can switch where they shop. And then over time, Dr. Wallach and I get the message out to those folks that, they do need to take a look at their nutrition. And over time, people do start buying it. Like I mentioned a moment ago, I've got over 700 people that have purchased products from me over time. I think I had 15 different folks that actually started representing the company and offering it to other people to create some extra income. Now, most of those folks, all they were interested in was just to make enough money so they can pay for their health products, their nutrition products. And that's fine. The vast majority of those distributors, that's the way it was. Out of all my distributors, I had 2 of them that actually wanted to create an income and beyond just covering the price of their products. And that's what you're looking for. You know, out of 100 people, 80 people are going to be product users. The vast majority of them, that's all they do is they buy a few products every month. 15 of those 80 people are going to want to create enough income to pay for their own products. And then maybe 4 or 5 of those people out of the 100, they're going to want to actually build a business like you are and get more people involved. And that's how you make money in this business. And I encourage you that if you came to this call and to learn about some of Dr. Wallach's messages here, learn about your health, to ask the person that invited you to call to give you some more information about how to create some extra income. You know, Dr. Wallach told you got certain products you need to take and you're concerned about being able to afford it. Get with the person that invited you and let them show you how you can afford the products, create a little bit of income to afford the products yourself so you can get yourself healthier. And who knows, maybe you're one of the 4 or 5 that end up creating an extra income, a serious extra income to get out of debt. I mean, what would it be like if you can create even just $500 a month extra income? What would that do for your life? You know, where would you be 5 years from now if you created an extra $500 a month? You could take that extra $500 a month and you can pay off all your credit cards. You can become debt free like Dave Ramsey, and start living today like nobody else, concentrating on getting your debt paid off. So someday in the future, you can live like nobody else, be debt free, and have this income coming in as well as the income you've got coming in from your job. What would that be like? What would that do for your future? What would that do for your kids and your grandkids if you can get yourself into that position? So I encourage you to reach out to the folks that invited you to this program and find out how to create that extra income. If you found this yourself on YouTube or you found it on Facebook or my podcast, then reach out to me. You can reach out to me by going to the website aimhighforsuccess.com. Aim High for Success. There's a contact form on there. You fill that out, and I'll get in touch with you. You can go to my you can listen to these videos, the audio version of these videos on my podcast, Prosperity RX. You can find that on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, Prosperity RX. But reach out to somebody about how to create that extra income for yourself. It's going to be a tough few years, the next few years, with all the changes that's going on here in the United States. We already have seen people starting to lose jobs. I'm not going to be political about this, so I'm going to step back from that. But we are seeing more and more job losses, partially from the pandemic that's happening and partially from some political changes that are happening. But you need to make sure that you have yourself taken care of health-wise. You need to make sure you're going to be able to fight off whatever this next pandemic that comes along. So you want to get yourself as healthy as you can. You want to get yourself all your pharmaceuticals, get yourself healthier so you can get off all those dangerous pharmaceuticals, because every pharmaceutical has side effects that you don't want. So you want to try to do that, and you want to create an extra income coming in so that you have a cushion if things happen. So I encourage you to reach out to the person that contacted you, that shared this with you. You can reach out to me as well. Like I said, you can go to that website, aimhighforsuccess.com, or you can reach out to me through text message, 502-212-2929. That's 502-212-2929. I'm still a practicing pharmacist, so it's best to text me, because if I'm on the job, I won't be able to answer the phone. So if you text me, I can text you back, and we can set up a time where we can talk. Anyhow, that free information for you is at DDDL Video, D as in Dead Doctors Don't Lie, DDDLvideo.com. And you can get Dr. Wallach's books, CDs, videos, DVDs, whatever, at drjwallach.com. That's DR as in doctor, J as in Joel, Wallach, WALLACH.com. And if you want to take the health quiz, again, reach out to the person that invited you first and to get the link for them. But if you want to take the Dr. Wallach's health quiz, you can go to docshealthquiz.com, DOCSHEALTHQUIZ.com, and you can take the free health quiz that will let you know what nutrients based on your particular situation that you need to be taking in order to help your body support and renew itself. Again, I thank everybody for jumping on here every week. I really appreciate that. And we will see you again next Monday. So if you've got questions, if you've got friends that you want to get on there, we'll be doing this again next Monday. The Zoom is at zoom.campaignfornutrition.com. If you go there, you'll be able to talk live with Dr. Wallach like Christine did earlier. That's zoom.campaignfornutrition.com. Or you can also go to Facebook. It's at facebook.com/givedoc90days, and 90 is spelled out. So it's GIVEDOCNINETYDAYS. So facebook.com/givedoc90days. And you can watch it live there. You can answer questions on that. And again, if you want to talk to Doc directly, go to zoom.campaignfornutrition.com, and we'll be able to put you on the screen and talk to Dr. Wallach live. Again, I appreciate it, folks. I'm going to jump off here because I want to get on that corporate call as well. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
This has been the Prosperity RX podcast with pharmacist Keith Abell. Prosperity RX, your prescription for health, wellness, and prosperity. If you found value in this episode, please share and go to Apple iTunes, make a comment, and give us a 5-star rating. Also subscribe to us on iTunes or on your favorite podcast platform. Prosperity RX can also be found on YouTube at youtube.com/Prosperity RX. Be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell so you'll be notified each time a new episode has been uploaded. Pharmacist Keith is also a business entrepreneur. He helps folks from all walks of life to start and run their own home-based business. If you'd like Keith to help you create and run your very own business, be sure to visit aimhighforsuccess.com. That's aimhighforsuccess.com. Leave your contact information and Keith will contact you personally. Once again, that's aimhighforsuccess.com. Thanks again for tuning in to the Prosperity RX podcast.